Thank you for staying with us. If you are just joining us, this is Journalist Hangout. The main opposition People's Democratic Party, PDP, is at the crossroads regarding how to mend its tattered umbrella. As the crisis within the party persists, PDP governors met in Abuja over the states of the party and the country. The PDP Governors Forum called on the federal government to tackle insecurity in the country. Julie, the People's Democratic Party, they gave a good showing, but if not because of the intractable problem within the party, intra-party crisis, I'll call it. And I thought they were going to bounce back in 2023, but unfortunately, the party was divided and the party lost the election and PDP lost to PDP.
Yes, they just didn't learn from their past mistakes. If you wouldn't learn from your mistakes, then you are doomed to repeat those mistakes. PDP had every reason to win this last election. Honestly. Every reason. They can complain about IREF and all that, but they didn't put their house in order.
It was just, they were just
not IREF that will win the election for you. It is what happens at the polling centers. You form EC8A. What is logged into the form, that is the primary evidence. That is the result sheet. It is still that result sheet that you snap and put on IREF. IREF doesn't win election for you.
It's a myth.
So they can talk about IREF for as long as they want. But you had crisis in Kebbi. You had crisis in Kaduna. Namadi Sambo does not see McCarthy eye to eye. And unfortunately, McCarthy devotes his time to the party and its resources much more than Namadina Sambo. Namadina Sambo will show up when election comes. Yet, you do not like this man and you get your people to work against the interests of the party. This is what all of them have done. In Kebbi, they did very well in the presidential election. They took Kebbi. The powerful man of Kebbi politics, Adamu Alero, and the majority leader, the then majority leader of the Senate, they moved into the PDP. That was strength for the PDP. But the PDP had crisis in Kebbi that they could not resolve until after the governorship election. Now, that crisis is still there. They have crisis in Oyo. They have crisis in Rivers.
They have crisis in Lagos. They've been having crisis in Lagos.
Crisis in many of the states.
Ekiti.
So, if you have crisis and you are unable to solve the crisis, how do you intend to defeat an incumbent government? It's going to be impossible. Because you need to first put your house in order before going to battle.
You had crisis with the G5 governors.
Yes. No, in all of those places where we even had the G5, that's why I mentioned Oyo. There are crisis there. You know, I mentioned Rivers already. Where you had those governors, you had crisis. Because there were those who did not support the governors, who remain within the party, and they are like, what is going on? I think that the fact that the chairman of the party, the national chairman of the party, didn't think that no sacrifice was too big.
He refused to step down.
To keep the party strong. You know, okay, you know, I didn't mention Edo. They have a big crisis in Edo as well.
Yes, yes.
Which
Obaseki one side, and what's the name of this former chairman?
Yes,
chairman. Dan Obi. Very strong man.
You know?
Yes.
So, they have crisis in so many places. Now, it's a good thing that they had this meeting and the governors were overwhelmingly present. Even the governor of Rivers, who didn't show up, was said to have taken permission, you know, from the party. That is a good sign. And Damagum presided over the meeting because already the courts have put Ayu in the cooler. So Ayu can't show up at their meetings. What the PDP needs to do now is decide where they are headed. What should be the next line of action for them? I think the next line of action for PDP is to resolve the crisis within them. The leadership crisis has to be resolved. They have to forget what has happened. Just like the governor of Bauchi said, this is not the time for blame game over the 2023 election. You've lost the election, you've lost the election. You know, you've lost. No doubt about it, you lost. So forget the blame game. Focus on the future. What do you want at this stage? The people who worked against the party, did anti-party. A decision has to be taken. There are those who believe that those people should be punished. Will the party go ahead and punish them? Because it's unconstitutional. It's against the constitution of the party to work against the interests of the party the way many people did. Now, do you want to punish those people or not? You know, even Katsina has a caretaker committee now. They have crisis in Katsina. So I didn't even remember Katsina. Katsina was a state where I thought they would even take the governorship.
I'm telling you,
but they were
because they performed very well during the presidential election.
But the crisis within them will make members work against people they don't like. This is the problem. So now there are those who believe that the people who work against the party should be sent packing. The party has to decide, what should we do? Do we go for reconciliation and wipe the slate clean and say, okay, those of you that worked against us, we are forgiven? If that is what the party wants to do, they have to make that clear. I think the party needs a NEC meeting, if not a convention, which is the biggest organ of the party, where these issues can be resolved. I think the matter of IU should be brushed aside now. The party should focus on the future and decide what they want to do. If people like Wike want to remain in the party has to ask them, do you want to remain in the party? If you don't want to remain in party, the party has to decide what to do with them.
It becomes more difficult, Olayinka, when you have a tough customer, a politician in Aso Rock. Before, when you had an Obasanjo, when you had Jonathan, when you had a Yaradua, when you had Goodluck, you know, it was a different ball game. Right now, in the villa now, you have a politician that understands the name of the game. So how is PDP going to survive this onslaught in the next 4 years, or maybe if you say 8 years, because they want to stage a comeback?
I think the problem of the PDP is what can be referred to as that withdrawal symptom. They've been in power for 19 years, almost 2 decades, and they are used to being in power. So that 2015 was a shocker, sort of. Therefore, they have not recovered from that. And let's take a look at this. 3 or 4 people who have been big or who have attained national limelight or national power through the party, former President Olusegun Obasanjo is no more, he said he's no more into partisan politics. Jonathan is lukewarm. Namadi Sambo is non-committal. He only comes out when there is election. When the election is over, it fizzles out. So this party needs to take a deep look at itself. What has happened to us as a party? That's the question they should ask themselves. Why is it that Obasanjo, Jonathan, and Namadi, you can't bring these 3 people together? Okay, Obasanjo, his case is understandable. He has publicly declared that he's no more interested in partisan politics. But former President Jonathan and his vice president, the former vice president, the 2 of them have not said anything about the party. And the party seems also not to, the party seems that tend to look at it that maybe there are loads that they can shed off and they don't need to appeal to them or talk to them again. They may think that they don't have political clout and all that and so on and so forth. But as a person and the electorate will also look at that, as especially perceptive electorate, that, look, these people rose to power under this party. Why is it that they are no longer identifying with the party? So if you have a leader, or if you have leaders that have spent years as president and all that in your party, and they no longer want to openly associate with your party, then there must be something wrong. So, unfortunately, as Jide said, 2023 election, if PDP had been solid as APC was in 2014, 2015, it would have been their own forte. Because, I mean, everything towards the election, currency redenomination, this and that, and so on, so many policies were working against the APC. If APC were to be the party in opposition at that point in time, they would have galvanized the whole country towards that. But unfortunately, PDP is either they don't have straight thinkers or deep thinkers that can help them look at issues and articulate it, or what.
Going back to the same question now, when you know, if you have a skillful politician like Bola Tinubu in Aso Rock, and you want to, the likes of Abubakar Bukola Saraki and the rest, Atiku Abubakar, they're still on the other side. As in, what can PDP do? A lot of people are saying that as long as that name is still People's Democratic Party, that it will be difficult to sell it to Nigerians.
No, I disagree.
No, I don't
disagree.
think so.
This is a baseless.
I don't think so too.
If we look at the 2019 election, in terms of the performance of the party, they won more new states than the APC.
Yeah.
So it effectively combusts that argument. It's a baseless argument. They won more new states. In fact, APC was lucky to take some states through a mid-season, off-season election and all that. So if we look at their performance, they bridged the gap because they won new states. Bauchi did not belong to them originally. In 2019, they took it.
Adamawa?
Huh? Adama did not belong to them. They took it. Oyo did not belong to them. They took it. So how come people were voting for them if they didn't like the name? It has nothing to do with the name. It's about a party refusing to seize the moment. Because the conditions that were the subsisting conditions that helped PDP, APC to power in 2015 were not as grievous as what we had in 2023. Yeah. It's very clear.
Obviously.
The conditions that Nigerians were angry about that got them to vote APC in 2015 were not as bad as what we had in 2019, as what we had in 2023. This is the truth. Whether people will crucify me about that or no, is their problem. That is the truth. The conditions that were on ground for 2023.
That's 2023 bad.
In my adult life, I've never seen such a thing. Where a CBN governor will make up his mind to inflict pain on the people. And allied to that, we also had the matter of fuel scarcity.
Yeah.
And we also had December. The Naira was on a free fall.
I mean,
you know? So if you can't capitalize on all of this, because I remember I was speaking with Abaribe, the senator, long before the 2023 election. Remember that interview I had with him, and we were discussing. He said, we can win this election if our party comes together. The same thing was what the then governor of the Taraba told me. I was in his office. He said, the only way we can win is if we come together. And what did we see? With the crisis, Wike, Otom, and the rest of them, with that crisis, how did they come together? You lose a man like Kwankwaso in Kano. Because he was in the PDP. And if you saw what they did to him, they just didn't want his own person to be one of the national officers.
That's all.
That's all. They made sure that person
just national officer.
And at the end, they look at the crisis in Kano. I didn't even mention Kano again. Where Wali had his own faction. And the other people too. So how do you have crisis almost across the board and expect that you are going to win an election?
Fragmented party.
Up till the last minute, we didn't know the candidate of the PDP in Kano. They were fighting between Ambassador Wali's faction and the other one.
All right. As we grieve over the killings in Plateau State, the